350 million years ago, long before the dinosaur era, planet Earth was a very different place. Endless tropical swamps teeming with towering ferns, intense humidity, and a high oxygen level in the air created ideal conditions for flourishing life, though not the kind we know today. The Carboniferous period was a strange, otherworldly era dominated by giant insects. Ever-present swampy tropical forests absorbed carbon dioxide through photosynthesis and released immense amounts of oxygen into the atmosphere. This raised the oxygen level to a record 35%, more than 1.5 times the safe level for humans. Such high oxygen levels became a powerful energy source for living organisms in this primeval jungle world. It was the perfect time for early vertebrates that were beginning to evolve but haven't quite adapted to life on land, as well as various invertebrates that grew to astonishing sizes. It was a time of aggressive centipedes as long as a car, dragonflies soaring through the sky that resembled modern hawks, and giant spiders and scorpions the size of a bull terrier, dominating the swampy jungles. The Carboniferous was an epoch when giant insects ruled the planet, transforming it into your worst nightmare. If you were to find yourself in the jungles of the Carboniferous period, the first sensation you'd feel would likely be lightheadedness, a sense of dizziness, and dimmed vision. This would be due to the excessive oxygen levels, so abundant that even a small spark could ignite wet wood. Looking down, you'd likely see your feet sinking slightly into the swamp, which would be typical since high humidity and swampy environments were a hallmark of the Carboniferous. But the real spectacle would be happening above you, in the sky. If you lifted your gaze, you'd see something similar to birds flying overhead, their wings emitting a loud buzzing sound and a noticeable vibration in the air. These were giant prehistoric butterflies, known as Paleodictyoptera. The wingspan of a typical representative of this species averaged 16 inches, with the largest specimens reaching up to 22 inches, nearly 10 times the size of modern flying insects. Paleodictyoptera were among the largest winged creatures of the Carboniferous. Their name, meaning ancient netted wing, refers to their intricate wing patterns, which resembled a delicate mesh. In addition to 2 standard pairs of wings with vibrant patterns, these insects also had small projections near their heads that may have acted as stabilizers during flight. On their heads they bore a proboscis used for consuming plant fluids, an early example of adaptation to this type of feeding style. Aside from their huge size, Paleodictyoptera had no way to intimidate you. They were harmless herbivores, interested only in the nutrient-rich juices of plants. The same could not be said of a ground-dwelling predator of the Carboniferous, posing a deathly threat to anything in its path. You wouldn't have trouble spotting it, since it was the largest scorpion in the planet's history, known as Pulmonoscorpius kirktanensis. It reached up to 28 inches in length. For reference, the largest modern scorpion, the emperor scorpion, barely grows to 8 inches. Pulmonoscorpius had a massive body covered with a chitinous exoskeleton, providing excellent protection from other predators. Its large, powerful pincers, equipped with sharp claws, allowed it to catch and hold prey. Meanwhile, its curved tail with a venomous stinger served as a death sentence for the prey captured under the pressure of the pincers. Pulmonoscorpius was an active predator that, as a rule, hunted smaller arthropods, mollusks, amphibians, and reptiles. Found both on land and in water, its adaptation to the water environment made it thrive as a predator in ancient seas. And if you wouldn't have trouble noticing this giant scorpion the size of a bull terrier, it would also easily spot you. It had 2 pairs of eyes, 2 set centrally for spatial perception, and another lateral pair likely for detecting light. Additionally, it may have had sensory receptors on its body, further enhancing its ability to navigate and locate prey. If you didn't consider yourself an arachnophobe before encountering this nearly 30-inch venomous scorpion, you might develop a newfound fear. But for now, let's return to the Carboniferous skies, where in addition to benign prehistoric butterflies, like Paleodictyoptera, we encounter winged predators. This predator would look strikingly familiar, as its descendants are around today. Dragonflies, except these were anomalously gigantic, over 10 times larger than their modern relatives. Meganora was one of the largest flying insects of all time. Looking at it, it's not that different from a regular dragonfly, albeit giant. And it kind of is. With a wingspan of 2.1 to 2.3 feet and a body length of up to 1.3 feet, they rivaled modern peregrine falcons in size. Over 300 million years ago, these giant insects were fearsome aerial hunters. They held the title of apex predator of the Carboniferous skies until the end of the Permian period, when the first gliding reptiles emerged. And truly, their large, compound eyes, providing nearly 360-degree vision, allowed them to spot prey from above and below. Additionally, their strong legs, with spines for capturing prey, were features of very aggressive and dangerous predators. It's believed that their prey often included the aforementioned giant butterflies. Their adaptability to different environments allowed Meganora to employ a dual hunting strategy. They could perch at the proverbial watchtower, waiting to ambush potential prey, or actively pursue it in flight. Fast and agile predators, they excelled at sharp aerial maneuvers, deftly avoiding obstacles while chasing their targets. While giant dragonflies did not have formidable opponents in the air, living on land presented challenges even for the mighty Pulmonoscorpius, especially when faced with another colossal creature known as Arthroplura. A titan among terrestrial invertebrates, Arthroplura could terrify anyone with its appearance and size. It's the largest millipede ever to exist, and simultaneously the largest terrestrial invertebrate in Earth's history. The smallest members of this genus reached up to 12 inches in length, while the largest specimens reached an astonishing 8.5 feet and weighed 110 pounds. Compare this to the longest living millipede today, Archospyrostreptus gigas, which only grows to 13 inches. Their bodies consisted of 30 armored segments, each up to 1.6 feet wide, with a pair of legs under each segment. Like many arthropods, Arthroplura periodically shed its exoskeleton when it outgrew the protective outer shell. A new, stronger one would grow in its place. It's believed that Arthroplura had an extremely durable protective exoskeleton which could shield its encounters with predators. However, it's worth noting that such confrontations with other animals were very rare, since the Carboniferous period wasn't known for having many predators. Even giant scorpions would likely hesitate to attack a millipede several times its size. No fossil fragments have been found of the head and mouth parts of these giants, so the diet of the larger specimens remains uncertain. However, scientists speculate that these crawling manifestations of insectophobia likely fed on decaying plant matter and seeds. Presumably, young individuals were likely strictly vegetarian, while adults might have occasionally treated themselves to decaying meat or even preyed on small animals. But the unique nature of the Carboniferous jungle does not stop here. Among the swamps, another predator lurked in anticipation of small reptiles and amphibians. It looked like an unusually large spider, although it wasn't a true spider. It was a distant relative, a sea scorpion known as Megarachne. Its incredible resemblance to spiders initially misled paleontologists when they first came across its fossilized remains, prompting them to presumably give it the name of Megarachne, which translates to big spider. However, after some time, it became clear that Megarachne was a sea scorpion of a noteworthy size. Its body length reached 1.8 feet, and its unique structure allowed Megarachne to feed using a method called sweep feeding. With paddle-like appendages, it would scrape through soft sediment in aquatic environments like swamps and rivers, capturing and consuming small invertebrates such as worms, insects, and smaller arthropods. Occasionally, it spoiled itself with terrestrial prey like reptiles and amphibians. However, the land animals were likely faster than Megarachne and were therefore less accessible prey. It appears that this sea scorpion would hide in a burrow or river, waiting for victims that came too close to its deadly lair. As for active hunting, its ancestor, Pterygotus, a giant sea scorpion that lived over 400 million years ago, feared much better. This species was not only more dynamic, but it was also larger than Megarachne. Its length was almost comparable to the height of an average human, 5.2 feet. And if you think this arthropod is unusually large, that's only an illusion. Compared to the giant named Hibbertopterus, Pterygotus takes a back seat. The length of the largest Hibbertopterus specimens could reach 6 to 6.6 feet. They were likely record holders as the heaviest of their kind due to their broad and compact bodies. This giant's feeding method was not that different from that of its smaller relatives. It was still the same sweep feeding method, except their diet may have included larger reptiles and amphibians. And no, this still isn't the limit for giant arthropods. The largest representative of this kind can confidently be considered Jeckelopterus, which lived 400 million years ago. It reached a size of about 7.5 to 8.5 feet, making it one of the largest arthropods ever discovered. This giant's primary tools for defense and hunting were its claws. They could be approximately 1.4 feet long and were powerful enough to grab and easily crush their prey. However, such a large size did not equate to massive weight. Due to the simplicity of its anatomy, and despite having a length comparable to a car, the weight of a Jeckelopterus likely did not exceed 220 pounds. Not all creatures of the Coniferous period were affected by the giant gene. Amid the humid prehistoric jungle, where enormous dragonflies filled the skies and the waters harbored giant scorpions, there were other beings, creatures so tiny you would struggle to spot them underfoot. Given the name Trigonautabida, these can be considered prototypes of the first spiders in history. The smallest members of the species were just a few millimeters long, while the largest grew to 2 inches. These were the earliest terrestrial arachnids known to science. Having appeared over 400 million years ago, long before the Carboniferous period, they were fully adapted to breathing air and no longer dependent on water. Their appearance was not too dissimilar to modern spiders. The body was divided into a cephalothorax and an abdomen segmented and covered in chitinous plates. Their legs were also similar to spiders. However, unlike modern spiders, they could not spin webs. Their cephalothorax was protected by a carapace, earning them the nickname armored spiders. These were some of the smallest predators of their time, hunting soft-bodied invertebrates like worms, for example. They likely didn't use venom for hunting and instead relied on grabbing their prey with their legs, holding it in place to consume it. It's possible that they also fed on plants, not unlike certain mites that, for reference, had a similar appearance to Trigonautabida. The Carboniferous period was a playground for evolutionary experiments. Unique, gigantic, and often dangerous creatures dominated the air and land. Yet perhaps one of evolution's most fascinating experiments of this time period was conducted underwater, creating some of the most well-armored creatures of the era. Lepidocaleus was an ancient worm species that lived around 400 million years ago on the territory of modern Australia. They thrived on shallow reefs and fed on organic waste. Measuring only a fraction of an inch in length, these creatures could only be observed in detail under a microscope. However, they have another more memorable nickname, the Excalibur Worm. This name, inspired by the legendary sword of King Arthur, was earned for good reason. Externally, they resembled heavily armored knights, covered in overlapping plates of calcite crystals that extended along their entire body. This armor provided extremely durable protection. Beneath the crystal layer was a light exoskeleton, similar to how knights wore chainmail beneath their armor. Additionally, the Excalibur Worm could curl up into a ball, protecting its unarmored and therefore vulnerable body parts. The sharp edges of its crystalline armor made it even more formidable to potential enemies, as they would protrude outward when the worm curled up. Few creatures were capable of harming these armored worms. Biting through their crystalline shell was nearly impossible, and swallowing them was not a great option either. Evolution provided these worms with flawless defenses, but in the end, this came at a significant cost. Even this solid protection that guaranteed safety from predators had a downside. The heavy armor limited their mobility, making it difficult to search for food or disperse to new habitats. As a result, the Excalibur Worm left no noteworthy descendants. Their ultimate extinction coincided with the mass extinction at the end of the Devonian period. Amphibians began to diversify, and reptiles evolved into forms much like modern-day lizards with a backbone, allowing them to live and move on land. These amphibians were also huge, and some species were predatory, resembling modern-day crocodiles, armed with sharp teeth and reaching lengths of almost 6 meters long. And like modern-day crocodiles and alligators, some evolved to have a thicker, scaly skin, which solved the problem of their bodies drying out if they were out of the water too long. And for the first time, amphibians evolved to lay amniotic or air-breathing eggs on land. And that changed everything, since these animals could now live out of and away from water sources. The Carboniferous period gave way to the Permian period that began approximately 300 million years ago, just 50 million years before the dinosaurs. All the continents during this period existed as one large landmass called Pangaea. The first large plant-eating and meat-eating animals evolved during this time. Some of these creatures could be mistaken for dinosaurs, but they were actually more closely related to mammals and reptiles. One of these bizarre creatures was Diplocerapsis. It looked a little like a salamander that averaged around 1 meter long, but its head was shaped like a boomerang. Another new reptile on the planet was the iconic Dimetrodon, which grew to about 5 meters long and had a large sail on its back, which is likely used to regulate its body temperature. During the Permian period, mammals were increasing in dominance. The biggest of these were creatures classified as Gorgonopsians, which were a class of giant, bear-like animals that all had different teeth that were specialized for different functions. These animals could be either herbivores or carnivores and vary in size from less than a kilogram to more than a ton. One group of these creatures were known as cynodonts. Their name means dog-like teeth, and these animals had social behavior, and there is some fossil evidence that shows they hunted in packs. In the oceans, fish with true bony skeletons evolved. Sharks and rays flourished, as well as sponges and coral. On land, insects evolved with adapted mouthparts that allowed them to pierce and suck. But around 252 million years ago, the Permian era came to an abrupt end by a cataclysmic event that caused mass extinction. In 2001, scientists made a chilling discovery. A massive comet or asteroid, similar to the one that put an end to the dinosaurs, wiped out the giant reptile predecessors 200 million years earlier. But how did scientists come to this conclusion? Molecules of helium and argon gas were found locked in carbon in high proportions that could have only come from space. It's estimated that the asteroid or comet was between 6 and 12 kilometers wide in diameter. Researchers say the strike would have released the energy 1 million times greater than the biggest earthquake of the last century. Aside from this discovery, there's some evidence that current-day Siberia and China experienced volcanic eruptions on an unimaginably massive scale, and those eruptions created dust and ash clouds that blocked out sunlight.
Not only that, but over 1 million years, 3 million cubic kilometers of lava poured out of the ground, covering the entire planet in a layer 10 meters thick. The asteroid impact, combined with volcanic activity, was the proverbial blast from a double-barreled shotgun. The Earth was once again a very unhappy place. The combination of these two events resulted in what's called the Great Dying. 90% of all marine animals and 70% of all land animals that were alive during this time perished. The extinction event of the Permian-Triassic era 252 million years ago marked the beginning of the Mesozoic era of the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous period, which lasted 186 million years. During the Triassic era, there was one vast supercontinent called Pangaea, which was mostly vast deserts with a hot and dry climate surrounded by a huge ocean called Panthalassa. Dinosaurs would begin to evolve during the mid to late Triassic period. When we talk about dinosaurs, we immediately imagine towering and thundering animals like Tyrannosaurus rex.
Check out my stuff.
But new research shows that the dinosaurs and their pterosaur relatives evolved from extremely small ancestors. Proof of this theory was discovered in Madagascar, when a newly discovered reptile species was found. Named Congonophone kelly, or tiny bug slayer, it lived some 237 million years ago and stood just 10 centimeters tall. It's one of the first small animals found from the root of the Ornithodora family tree and is an important discovery. The miniaturization event in which it lived served as a survival strategy for early ornithodorans, and wear on its teeth showed the tiny creature preyed on insects. This eliminated the need for them to compete with their relatives for meat. Furthermore, researchers of this tiny dinosaur relative showed that feathers and other fuzzy skin coverings found on the later true dinosaurs and pterosaurs likely originated to protect the tiny dino ancestors from the extreme climate of the mid to late Triassic period when the first dinosaurs evolved. The Triassic marked the rise of the reptiles, mainly the archosaurs, or ruling lizards, and therapsids, or mammal-like reptiles. For reasons unknown, the archosaurs had an evolutionary edge, muscling out their mammal-like cousins and evolving by the mid to late Triassic into the first true dinosaurs, such as Eoraptor, and Herrerasaur had long legs that allowed it to run fast, and its front paws had sharp claws that helped it to grab prey. Herrerasaurus was more advanced in evolution than the Eoraptor because it had a joint in its lower jaw. It had a large skull, and its jaws were armed with the sharp teeth of a carnivore. It averaged in length from 3 to 6 meters and had 5 fingers on each paw with blunt claws. Staurikosaurus was another early true dinosaur that was about 2 meters long with a large skull as long as its femur, and there were 13 to 14 sharp teeth in its upper and lower jaws. It has short front paws with 5 fingers. It had long hind legs that allowed it to run fast. Staurikosaurus was a predator that weighed about 30 kilograms, and although this dinosaur was kind of small, it probably had no trouble dealing with larger prey. Eoraptor, Herrerasaurus, and Staurikosaurus are prime examples of the rapid evolution of predatory dinosaurs 225 million years ago. But at the same time, the first plant-eating dinosaurs appeared in the fossil record. Paisanosaurus was a 1-meter dinosaur that weighed 2 to 9 kilograms and had closely spaced teeth forming a continuous edge for grinding plant matter. By the late Triassic period, there were at least 15 different dinosaurs.
And it's unlocked!
During the Jurassic period, Earth's climate changed from hot and dry to a much more humid and subtropical climate. Forests of ferns, cycads, and conifers began to cover the planet, and the air was warm, moist, with tropical breezes. During the beginning of this period, the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea continued and accelerated. Laurasia, the northern half of the continent, broke up into North America and Eurasia. The southern half, called Gondwana, began to break up during the mid-Jurassic. The eastern parts, Antarctica, Madagascar, India, and Australia, split off from the western half of Africa and South America. New oceans flooded the spaces in between. Huge mountains rose on the seafloor and pushed sea levels higher onto the continents. It was all this water that created the humid and subtropical climate. Deserts began to turn green. Palm tree-like cycads and conifer trees such as the araucaria and pine were abundant. The oceans became full of diverse and abundant life, and at the top of the ocean food chain were the marine reptiles. The plesiosaurs with their long necks and paddle-finned flippers. Among them were giant marine crocodiles, sharks and rays. Ichthyosaurs, squid-like cephalopods, coil-shelled ammonites, sponges, snails and mollusks were abundant in the ancient oceans. Coral reefs grew and expanded quickly in the warm waters, and microscopic plankton increased rapidly to the point that they may have turned parts of the ocean red. The earliest known bird, Archaeopteryx, took to the skies in the late Jurassic, likely evolved from an early Coelosaurian dinosaur. Archaeopteryx had to compete for airspace with pterosaurs. Flying reptiles would have been buzzing the skies since the late Triassic. Meanwhile, insects such as leafhoppers and beetles were abundant, as many of Earth's earliest mammals scurried around the feet of dinosaurs. It was at this time that the dinosaurs began making their mark in a huge way. Literally, small quadrupedal plant-eating dinosaurs gradually evolved into multi-ton giants. The plant-eating sauropod named Brachiosaurus was 16 meters tall and stretched out
I'm not sure why my heart's fucking racing right now. I got 4 stars! Oh shit. I think I'm starting to... Oh, what the fuck? You gotta be kidding me, dude. Really? I feel like they kicked me, dude. I was having fun, man. That was fun as fuck. That was fun as fuck. Let's see if we can get back in there. Or is it gonna be stupid? Dude, that was so much fun. There was so many cops, bro. There was like 7, 8 cops. There were there were blue dots all over the map, just fucking around me, dude. Oh, my heart was racing.
up to around 26 meters long and could weigh as much as 25 tons. Another herbivorous sauropod giant named Diplodocus was 27 meters long and weighed between 30 to 50 tons. The sheer size of these dinosaur giants may have stopped the attacks of a bulky meat-eating dinosaur that walked on 2 powerful legs who also lived during this time, the ominous Allosaurus. This huge carnivore ranged in size from 7 to 12 meters long, weighed nearly 2 tons, and had 16 sharp teeth in its upper and lower jaw. And like many predatory dinosaurs of the Mesozoic era, Allosaurus constantly grew, shed, and replaced its 3 to 4 inch teeth. And this dinosaur was fast. Models suggest that Allosaurus could run up to 34 kilometers per hour. Fossil evidence shows that Allosaurus preyed on Stegosaurus, and the plant-eating dinosaur fought back, punching holes right through Allosaurus's bones with its spiky clubbed tail. It could be why Stegosaurus had a pretty long run and survived all the way up to the late Cretaceous. But there were new predators that would come along that were as equally terrifying as the Allosaurus. The North American Tyrannosaurus rex could grow 12.5 meters long and weighed up to 8 to 10 tons, although now some say it might have weighed half of these estimates. But the T-Rex wasn't alone in the meat-eating dinosaur category. In fact, it was either outclassed or equal to two other sharp-toothed monsters. The South American Gigantosauros, which had the same type of build and weighed 9 tons, and the 10-ton Northern African Spinosaurus. Still, the T-Rex was a mean and nasty predator, if not downright unhygienic. Experts believe that shards of rotten bacteria-laden meat was constantly lodged in its closely packed teeth, which gave the animal a septic bite that would eventually be fatal to its wounded prey. Of course, this process would have taken at least several days or weeks, and another T-Rex would probably reap the rewards. Scientists examining the T-Rex skull determined it had the bite force of between 1,500 to 5,000 pounds per square inch, and could take bites of flesh in the 225 kilogram range.
Oh my God, that's
But Tyrannosaurus rex, like Allosaurus, had problems with prey itself. It lived in the same region and time period as some armored plant-eating dinosaurs. One of the most iconic dinosaurs next to T-Rex has to be Triceratops, which means three-horned face. All Triceratops had three-horned skulls. 2 massive horns were above the eye socket, and 1 smaller horn was over the nose. Weighing around 6.5 to 13 tons, the biggest Triceratops was 9 meters long from nose to tail. The tips of their shoulders were 3 meters off the ground. Triceratops had teeth arranged in dental batteries, and each individual tooth was stacked in a vertical column of 3 to 5 teeth. These formed rows with 36 to 40 tooth-loaded columns. This means that a single Triceratops could have 800 teeth at its disposal. It had a narrow beak and powerful jaws that allowed it to grind down tough vegetation and trees. It's one of the last non-avian dinosaurs to evolve at the end of the Cretaceous. Ankylosaurus is another of the most famous armored dinosaurs. It was the largest ankylosauride and the last of its kind. It's thought to have lived right up to the end of the Cretaceous period. The body of Ankylosaurs was covered in bony plates. It had a beak and teeth and 4 horns that projected backwards from its head. Its tail ended in a club, which provided protection from predators. This would have been useful since Ankylosaurs lived alongside Tyrannosaurus rex and other meat-eating predators. At some point during the middle of the Cretaceous period, dinosaurs from the ornithopod family evolved into the popular hadrosaur, or duck-billed dinosaurs. They were large, oddly shaped, low-slung vegetation eaters with tough beaks on their snouts, which were used for shredding vegetation. These dinosaurs are believed to have lived in herds and were capable of walking on 2 legs. Sauropods became even bigger by the late Cretaceous period. You may have thought that Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus were big, but by the time the late Cretaceous period rolled around, there was another dinosaur that existed, which could possibly be the biggest land animal that's ever walked the earth. Argentinosaurus. This behemoth could be 30 to 40 meters in length and weighed between 50 and 100 tons. It was a member of the Titanosauria, the dominant group during the Cretaceous period, and was a herbivore like its earlier sauropod cousins. There was also a strange new breed of dinosaur that lived 20 million years before they all went extinct. They were called Pachycephalosaurus, or bone-headed dinosaurs, and have a bizarre-looking skull with horns on the snout and around the base of the skull. These could have been used to fight off the last of the big predators, or even to show dominance over their own species. Of course, there are more than 700 different dinosaurs that have been found so far, but not enough time to cover them all in one video. There are some dinosaurs that lived in the colder regions, when they were further south and within the Antarctic Circle during the Cretaceous. During this time, there could have been some snow and ice, and temperatures as low as -10 degrees Celsius during the 3-month-long dark winters. There were a variety of different dinosaurs living in this polar zone. In 2014, a skull section and upper and lower jaw bones were found of a miniature T-Rex called Nanoxaurus hoglandi. It's believed that many dinosaurs had feathers to protect them from the elements, and this tiny T-Rex cousin was about 6 meters long. It's now believed that all species of Tyrannosaurus rex had feathers to protect them from the elements, and Nanoxaurus was no different. Other dinosaurs like the horned and duck-billed dinosaurs, along with other small feathery predators, parrot-like oviraptors, and a small herbivore named Lielanosaura, lived in the polar region as well. But their time would soon come to an end. Everyone talks about how dramatically the dinosaurs went extinct, but judging by the whopping 165 million years they survived, they might just be the most successful vertebrate animals to ever exist on planet Earth. In fact, some dinosaur relatives are still around on the planet today. Modern-day birds are, in fact, descendants of feathered dinosaurs, and you might be surprised to learn that crocodiles are the closest living relatives to birds, as they shared a common ancestor. The two groups are the only known survivors of the archosaurs. We all know what happened to the dinosaurs, and if you missed our video on the day the dinosaurs went extinct, we'll put a link in the description for you. Please let us know in the comments what you thought about the video, and tell us what you'd like to see next. Stay tuned for more cool videos, and thanks for watching.
It's a lot.
Come on, J-Man,
Bro.
folks. Come on, G. Come on, folks. Now that's too far, J-Man. We gonna start with this too far, J-Man, folks.
November 2023. What began as a routine interview between FYB J-Mane and FBG Butta explodes into a heated interrogation on gang politics, buried secrets, and threats. What went down in this interview is stuff that proves how quickly things can heat up with gang leaders. What you're about to see are some gang leaders flipping out at disrespectful interviewers.
And when you keep the member of the
Et quand vous détenez les membres de l'équipage, vous les détenez à bord du bateau ou vous les ramenez?
J'en ai assez dit.
May 2011, a French professor named Bertrand Monet from EDHEC Business School took a very dangerous trip. He goes
Bundle up and ready your ice axes as we delve into these astonishing frozen finds. Let's begin with number 15, an entire mountain range. In 1958, a Soviet expedition uncovered an entire mountain range. Buried under 600 meters of ice in Antarctica, the Gamburtsev mountain range is absolutely massive. It extends for about 1,250 kilometers and has peaks as high as 3,390 meters in altitude. This makes the mountain range about as large as the European Alps. Yet despite its size, its hard to reach location under ice means that scientists know pretty much nothing about its features.
Can I sell that hearse?
Number 14, gold. While most gold is located underground, melting glaciers have revealed new deposits. During the last ice age, glaciers often transported gold-bearing rocks. Some of those golden rocks have become frozen inside the glaciers. And while the gold is usually scattered throughout as sediment, they've begun to reveal significant quantities of gold when the glacier melts. As global warming continues, glacial streams will likely see an uptick in gold volume, allowing some prospectors to strike it rich if they get the timing just right. Number 13, a new dinosaur species. In 1986, Argentinian geologists Eduardo Olivero and Roberto Scasso found a new species of dinosaur. On an expedition to Antarctica's James Ross Island, they found the bones of an ankylosaur under the ice. And while it took an entire decade to excavate the fossil thanks to the ground frost and the harsh weather, they uncovered a new species that's now called Antarctopelta, or Antarctic shield in English. To date, this one fossil is the only specimen of the species that's ever been found. Number 12, Yucca the mammoth. In 2010, a group of Siberian tusk hunters came across one of the world's most incredible Ice Age relics. Known as Yucca, she was a woolly mammoth that roamed the icy tundra about 39,000 years ago. She likely met her end after falling into a swamp and getting stuck, and it's due to this unique position that her lowered body was almost perfectly preserved. In fact, it's in such good condition that scientists were able to extract flowing blood, as it turns out that mammoth blood has a natural antifreeze. Yucca is now displayed in Moscow and would certainly be worth visiting on the next trip to the city. Number 11. A box of jewels. In 2013, a French alpinist was hiking across the glacier on Mont Blanc when he spotted a metal box in the ice. The box said, "Made in India," and upon opening it, he found it filled with about 100 colorful gems, consisting of a mix of sapphires, emeralds, and rubies. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the jewels had come from a crashed Indian Airlines flight from either 1950 or 1966. However, despite searching, authorities were unable to find the original owner. As a result, the decision was made to split the jewels in half with both the alpinist and the owners of the land, leading to the alpinist going home with a cool $340,000. Number 10. Grasshoppers. So, while grasshoppers and glaciers are two things that don't seem very compatible, you can get two of them in one in the U.S. state of Montana. Located within the Beartooth Mountains of Custer National Forest, the so-called Grasshopper Glacier is far different than the typical white glaciers. That's because it's got a grayish color, and this is because it has tens of millions of locusts located inside of it. Now, I'm not entirely sure how they got in there, but there are a couple of theories. The most popular is that centuries ago, a swarm of billions of them were migrating over the Rocky Mountains when they suddenly were trapped by a massive winter storm. The ice then froze some of the trapped specimens in time, creating the incredible sight that's there today. Now, Grasshopper Glacier, as it came to be known, caught the attention of scientists after being discovered in the early 1900s by geologist J.P. Kimball. When he sent samples of the insect species to the U.S. Bureau of Entomology in 1914, it was discovered that they were Rocky Mountain locusts. This was a species that went extinct over a century ago, likely due to their seeds being overrun by the plows of farmers in the American West. Thus, this discovery was a scientific treasure, as their freezing led to locusts being very well preserved. And the Grasshopper Glacier isn't the only locust-filled glacier around. In fact, until the late 20th century, finding frozen grasshopper remains was pretty common. However, lower snowfall rates since the late 1980s and higher temperatures have caused many similar glaciers to melt. So, if you want to see Grasshopper Glacier for yourself, I'd suggest making the trip sooner rather than later. Now, getting there is quite the trek. After all, you have to use an off-road vehicle for part of the way, and then trek for several hours, with this often being in the face of bad weather. And it is because of this that the glacier is only considered to be accessible from late July to September, making it a difficult, yet worthwhile site to visit. Number 9. Allen Hills 84001. While the meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs may be the most famous space rock, Allen Hills 84001 is a close second. Discovered in the Allen Hills icefield of Antarctica in 1984, a 1.9 kilogram igneous rock is thought to have crystallized from magma on Mars about 4.5 billion years ago, and later to have been shocked and altered, perhaps by one or more nearby meteoroid or asteroid impacts, into what it is today. By our estimates, it was formed as part of the crust on Mars about 4 billion years ago. It stayed there until about 17 million years ago, and then after an asteroid hit Mars, it went spinning into space. From there, it zipped around for many years before eventually landing in Antarctica about 13,000 years ago. While this makes the rock old and interesting, its age is far from its most controversial attribute. You see, in 1996, NASA scientists who carried out microscopic and chemical analyses on the meteorite made a shocking suggestion: that the strange carbonates in the meteorite had been produced by Martian microorganisms. After all, the carbonate grains that were observed are associated with organic compounds and contain minute crystals of iron minerals similar in size and shape to those produced by bacteria. If this hypothesis was true, this would mean that, in all likelihood, there was life on Mars. Given we haven't found definitive proof of that so far, this would have been, to put it lightly, a big deal. However, in subsequent investigations, other scientists refuted these claims. They instead said the carbonate grains could be explained by non-biological process. In 2022, these naysayers were proven right, as an authoritative report in the Journal of Science confirmed that the carbonate grains were not signs of life. Instead, they were created by water. Now, this shouldn't dash your hopes yet. After all, there is still good science that suggests that Mars may have once been hospitable to life. However, given the planet's current state, the chance of any life being found on Mars today is slim to none. And while this makes this piece of space rock a lot less exciting, it can still be visited today at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. Number 8. A baby mammoth. Canada's Yukon Territory is known for its gold deposits, and on a rainy day in June of 2022, miner Travis Mudry was working away to extract some. Since the mines are covered in permafrost, he had to dig into a wall of hard, frozen dirt, and while doing so, he made a crazy discovery. Inside the muck, he spotted a dark, shiny animal with short legs. Suspecting he'd found a mummified baby buffalo, Mudry began inspecting the creature. However, he was in for a shock after he realized that the animal had a trunk. Upon showing his boss, all work was stopped and the experts were called in. While Grant Zazula, the Yukon government's paleontologist, wasn't able to arrive right away, he sent 2 geologists who rushed to the creek, surveyed the site, and retrieved the remains less than an hour before a storm struck. Once secure, the mammoth was wrapped in a tarp and brought to a nearby location for a ceremony with scientists, miners, politicians, and First Nations elders. Gathered in a circle, the elders offered a blessing and named the mammoth Nunchoga, which means big baby animal in their language. After a quick examination, they ruled that Nunchoga was female, who was probably about a month old when she passed away more than 30,000 years ago. Based on where she was found, it's more than likely that she was grazing with her mother when she strayed from her mother's side and got stuck in the mud, leading to her death. Now, the reason why Nunchoga was so well preserved is likely due to her quick passing and the unique location of her final moments. You see, in most parts of the world, only the fossilized bones of Ice Age creatures remain. However, in the Yukon, permafrost acts as a sort of freezer, preserving soft tissues like muscles, skin, and hair, alongside the important information like DNA. It's because of this that in recent decades, miners in territory have unearthed the well-preserved remains of several different animals, with their findings including a wolf pup, a caribou calf, and giant camels. In any case, Nunchoga now holds the title of being the first complete baby woolly mammoth found in North America, and only the second in the world. As such, her discovery was an incredible stroke of luck, and of great importance to the scientific and archaeological community. Moving on to number 7, an AC-53 Skytrooper Dakota. On November 18th of 1946, a C-53 Skytrooper Dakota took off from Tulln Air Base near Vienna, Austria, bound for Pisa in northern Italy. The plane was carrying several high-ranking Allied officers and their families, and so in order to play it safe, Captain Ralph Tate Jr. decided to take a 2-day-long route that would take them through Munich and Marseille in order to avoid bad weather. This ended up being an ill-advised plan. That's because somewhere around Innsbruck, the plane got caught in bad weather anyways, causing the pilots to become disoriented and go off course. They knew they were in the Alps because Tate had to dodge several mountain peaks. However, they mistakenly thought they were in the French Alps and not the Austrian Alps. At some point, a downdraft sent them towards yet another peak, and in order to save everyone on board, Tate intentionally dropped the airplane, pancaking it onto the Goli Glacier. The plane skidded on its belly uphill for a short while before thankfully getting stuck in a snowbank. This slowdown caused the plane to stop a few hundred meters short of a deep crevasse, ensuring that everyone remained safe. The good news was that only the serious injury among the passengers was a compound leg fracture. The bad news was that 12 of them were now stuck about 3,200 meters up in the Alps in late November. Thankfully though, despite the rough landing, the radio still worked. However, because the radio signals deflected off the mountains, the B-17 bombers sent to look for them didn't pick them up. It was because of this that it took a grand total of 3 days for the US and British Air Forces to locate the lost plane, with the eventual finder being, according to some sources, none other than the captain's dad, who spotted the plane after he sent up a flare. With the help of local Swiss Alpine soldiers, all the passengers who were aboard were saved, giving this story a happy ending. So this leaves us with the obvious question: what happened to the plane? Well, after the incident, the plane was simply left on the glacier and mostly forgotten about. However, in 2012, 3 university students from Canada found the C-53's propeller while hiking the glacier. They first thought it was a log protruding from the ice, but after investigating realized that it was a plane propeller. This find soon grabbed local headlines, and as the glacier continues to melt, it's likely that it will reveal more and more relics from this crash. Number 6, Antarctic ice holes. In October of 2017, scientists were in for a shock when a strange hole opened up in the middle of Antarctica's winter sea ice.
For taxes?
And what made this hole so shocking is that it was very atypical, massive in size. It was about as large as the US state of Maine and seemingly come out of nowhere. As you might imagine, scientists got to studying it, and they soon determined that it was a polynia. In essence, a polynia forms because the deep water in that part of the Southern Ocean is warmer and saltier than the surface water. Ocean currents can at times bring the warmer water upwards, where it melts the blankets of ice that had formed on the ocean surface. That melting created the polynia. To make matters worse, since the waters in the hole is continuously exposed to the atmosphere above, it makes it difficult for new ice layers to form. While we know how polynias work, there's still a lot of mystery surrounding them. First and foremost, they tend to occur on the coast where ice is close to non-frozen seawater. However, in this case, the polynia opened up very deep in the interior of the continent, puzzling scientists. We still have a little idea of what long-term impacts of a polynia are, and whether they can cause serious harm to the local environment. There are even suggestions that they may be linked to climate change, although this is yet to be definitively proven. Using data from satellites, autonomous floats, and tagged marine animals, the team determined that a turbulent eddy around Maud Rise brought more salt into the sea, which was then transferred to the surface through a process called Ekman transport. They then determined that the polynias formed in this way can have quite the impact, as they can change how water moves around and how currents carry heat towards Antarctica. Number 5. Iron Age skis. While humans from the Iron Age were far different than we are today, one thing that they did have was, of all things, skis. And in 2014, a team of scientists found a single archaic ski in Norway's national park. 7 years later, a matching ski was found just a few meters away and in even better condition than its counterpart. Now, it's worth mentioning that skis have a rather long history. The archaeological record suggests that hunters in Europe and Asia began using skis to chase game around the end of the last ice age, about 11,000 years ago. To date, the oldest confirmed ski, which was unearthed in Russia, is about 8,000 years old. And periodically, archaeologists in Scandinavia have found wooden skis and ski-like artifacts to date as early as 3200 BC. Now, the skis in question are no older than what we found before. In fact, they're believed to be a relatively young set at just 1,300 years old. What makes them stand out and earn a spot on this list is the condition. Measuring in at about 188 centimeters long and about 18 centimeters wide, the skis are sizable, and according to the measurement, the second ski is slightly larger than the first. According to archaeologist Lars Pilo of Norway's Glacier Archaeology Program, quote, "The skis are not identical, but we should not expect them to be. The skis are handmade, not mass-produced. They have a long and individual history of wear and repair before Iron Age skiers used them together, and they ended up in the ice," end quote. Beyond their size, the skis are also notable for their features. Both have raised footholds, leather straps, and twisted birch bark bindings that would have been attached through holes in the footholds. It's believed that the ski's owner was a hunter, traveler, or both. And the find shows that despite being geographically remote, the high mountains of southern Norway were teeming with activity 1,300 years ago. It seems like this set of skis is also a bit different than what has typically been found. After the discovery of the first ski, the team wondered whether its underside had once been lined with fur. This would have been done, theoretically, to give the skis more grip. However, the new skis seem to have a furrow like those found on some other ancient and modern skis. This furrow would have no purpose if covered with fur, leading researchers to believe that the skis didn't feature any of it. Number 4. Ancient viruses. While it may sound crazy, it turns out that viruses can survive under ice for thousands of years. Now, it's practically impossible to know how many ancient viruses are frozen and how many have already been quietly unleashed. However, there are some that scientists have picked up on. It's worth noting that so far, scientists have only studied permafrost viruses that infect single-cell organisms called amoebas. This is because the viruses are harmless and provide a good model for those others that may be lurking under the ice. As put by computational biologist Jean-Michel Clavier, we will never risk isolating a virus eventually capable of infecting modern mammals. We do not have any formal proof that viruses other than amoeba-specific viruses could survive as long, but there would be no reason why not, because all viruses basically have the same property of being inert particles while outside their host cells. We do not wish to take the immense risk of starting a new pandemic with unknown zombie viruses from the distant past just to demonstrate that we're right. End quote. So, here's some of the so-called safe viruses that have been found.
Thanks, Speedball. Fucking threw me across the sky. I'm gonna be a fucking great criminal out here. Not doing a great job. I'm having to spend more of my hard-earned cash. Oh, I kind of want to break in. I kind of want to break in, Oh, God, I'm getting bad thoughts. Oh, shit. Let's get some money up. I got an idea. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I got an idea. that point, it's already gonna be over. Because if I get this last car sold, it's fucked. It's all fucked. That was so cool, dude.
ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Gervais.
Hello and welcome to the 67th Annual Golden Globe Awards, live from Los Angeles. I'm Ricky Gervais. Thank you. You probably know me as the creator of The Office. No, you don't, do you? You think Steve Carell did it all? Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he, Steve Carell? He's amazing as the bumbling office manager. Where does he get his ideas from? Let's pay him hundreds of millions of dollars and put him in every movie. If you can't be bothered to go to the cinema to see Steve in action, then just watch him every Thursday here on NBC. Or if you think that particular version of the show has jumped the shark a little bit, this is what some of the forums are saying, then watch the original, Fridays, on Adult Swim. Or get the box set, that's still available. So, just 12 episodes in a special. Quality, not quantity, that's what counts. So, go and get that. I will be making the most of this opportunity. I'm not used to these sort of viewing figures. Let's face it, nor's NBC. So, on a serious note, just looking at all the faces here reminds me of some of the great work that's been done this year by cosmetic surgeons. You all look great. I've had a little bit of work done. I've had cheek implants. They put them there, which is annoying. And I've had a penis reduction. Just got the one now. That's enough. And it is very tiny. But so are my hands, so when I'm holding it, it looks pretty big. And let's face it, I usually am holding it. I wish I was doing that now instead of this, to be honest, but it is an honour to be here in a room full of what I consider to be the most important people on the planet. Actors. They're just better than ordinary people, aren't they? We all know that. Imagine a world without actors. Oh, God, it doesn't bear thinking about it. Imagine if they ever went on strike. Oh, what would we do? You couldn't replace them. You couldn't replace them with any other profession, lawyers or doctors. Can you imagine a real surgeon doing what Hugh Laurie does in-house? It would be pathetic. He'd be all over the place. We're going, oh, where do I stand? How's my American accent? What's my lines? You know, Hugh, with the aid of coaches and stuff, can eventually learn his lines while saving lives. He's a genius. How could you replace Kiefer Sutherland in 24? I'd love to see a real anti-terrorist agent try and defuse a bomb in a busy train station in 1 hour. Some of those scenes, by the way, where Kiefer grabs someone and beats them to a pulp, they weren't even in the script. The director just said, keep rolling, we'll work it into the... But actors aren't just loved here in Hollywood, they are loved the world over, because they're recognisable. You can be anywhere. You could be in the third world, okay, and you get a glimpse of a Hollywood star, and it makes you feel better, okay? You could be a little child, a little Asian child, with no possessions and no money, but you see a picture of Angelina Jolie, and you think, oh, Mummy. Oh. Thank you. Let's get on with it before NBC replaced me with Jay Leno. Well, it's going well, isn't it? We've seen some worthy winners and some not so worthy ones. No, I'm not going to mention them now, am I? I'll be doing that on my blog at rickygervais.com. I've had thousands of emails over the past few days saying, Why, oh why, was The Invention of Lying not nominated? I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe the DVD will win an award. That's out Tuesday at Walmart. So go and buy that. One thing that can't be bought is a Golden Globe. Officially. I'm not going to do this again anyway. But if you were to buy one, the man to see would be Philip Burke. The next category contains a couple of legends, one of which we've already seen, Sir Paul McCartney, fellow Brit, so good luck to him. I shouldn't be biased, but we actually came over on the same flight. I didn't get to speak to him because I was up the front in first class and he was behind me in coach. Saving money. He spent an awful lot last year. I don't think we have to feel too sorry for him. He's doing all right. Oh, the thing. The serious bit now. The Golden Globes is shown all over the world. It is oblivious to colour or creed. It doesn't just celebrate talent, it celebrates difference. It crushes prejudice and stereotype. One stereotype I hate is that all Irishmen are just drunk, sweary hellraisers. Please welcome Colin Farrell. This next category is a bit of a downer, to be honest. It's for writing. We all know writers get way too much credit in Hollywood, and that's due to the generosity of actors sometimes mentioning them. Do you know what I mean? But what would writers do without actors? I don't want to keep going on about actors, but they're the most important ones, okay? It's not the words you say, it's how good you look when you're saying them. That everyone knows that. And the great thing about actors is they want to keep moving forward. They're chameleons, ever-changing and leaving the past behind. Please welcome Rachel off Friends and that bloke from 300. Hello. Calm down, calm down. We're on the home straight. The next presenter is an award-winning actress with special powers. In Die Another Day, she used her powers of seduction to win over James Bond. In X-Men, she used her powers to control the elements. In Catwoman, she used the power of being able to wash herself all over. And she's the paw for behind the ear. It's brilliant. Woo. How you doing, all right? Cheers. I've had a couple. I'm not going to lie to you. Now listen up. I hope I haven't offended anyone. I didn't mean... It's not my fault. There's a lot of powerful people here, so if I said... It's... Honestly, I like a drink as much as the next man. Unless the next man is Mel Gibson. The next presenter is not only one of Hollywood's best actors, he's also one of the coolest men in the world. I haven't got a bad word to say about him, mostly because he's got arms as big as my legs. Please welcome the amazing Mickey Rourke. Well, that's it. We've got about 8 seconds, so thank you so much. Well done to all the winners. And if I could have one wish, it would be peace on earth. No, can I change that? I want everyone to watch The Ricky Gervais Show on HBO.
Live from the star-filled International Ballroom of the Beverly Hilton Hotel, welcome to the 68th Annual Golden Globe Awards. And now, your host for the evening, ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Gervais.
And hello. Welcome to the 68th Annual Golden Globe Awards, live from the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. It's going to be a night of partying and heavy drinking. Or as Charlie Sheen calls it, breakfast. Wow. Whoa. So, let's get this straight. What he did was, he picked up a porn star, paid her to have dinner with him, introduced her to his ex-wife, as you do. Went to a hotel, got drunk, got naked, trashed the place while she was locked in the cupboard. And
you bitches don't have headsets on? Oh, I'm talking shit the whole way over here.
Anyway, welcome. The Golden Globes is a celebration of the best in TV and movies over the last year, voted for by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. It was a big year for 3D movies, Toy Story, Despicable Me, Tron. Seems like everything this year was three-dimensional. Except the characters in The Tourist. I feel bad about that joke. No, I'll tell you what, I'm jumping on the bandwagon, because I haven't even seen The Tourist. Who has? But
you just
no,
set yourself up for failure.
It must be good, because it's nominated, so shut up, okay? And I'd like to quash this ridiculous rumour going around that the only reason The Tourist was nominated was so the Hollywood Foreign Press could hang out with Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie. That is rubbish. That is not the only reason. They also accepted bribes. Let's... No. All that happened was some of them were taken to see Cher in concert. How the hell is that a bribe? Really? Do you want to go and see Cher? No. Why not? Because it's not 1975. There were a lot of big films that didn't get nominated this year. Nothing for Sex and the City 2. No, I was sure the Golden Globe for special effects would go to the team that airbrushed that poster. What? Great job. Girls, we know how old you are. I saw one of you in an episode of Bonanza. Also not nominated, I Love You, Philip Morris, Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor, two heterosexual actors pretending to be gay. So the complete opposite of some famous Scientologist then. Probably. My lawyers helped me with the wording of that joke. They're not here. Okay. There's been some great news.
Why don't you tell me the blackest thing about you?
Tony, that's a great question, but the answer's gonna be so white.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, I have a good one.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, she has a good one. Can I get a spotlight?